Roots of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Root of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E. Thank you so much once again for tuning in today. We love having you back as always. And if you're a new listener, welcome. Make sure that you are subscribed to this show and you also leave a review. There's a whole host of episodes for you to catch up on. Now, if you leave a review, either on your Apple Podcast review, unfortunately, they're the only ones who allow you to review, so please make sure. We'd love to get up on the charts. This is season 2. We want to break into these new spaces, so make sure you leave a review and it can get read on the show, such as Natasha Lazarevich. She writes, Anne with an E is an engaging host and I love the amazing people in STEM she interviews. You can tell that Anne prepares relevant and interesting questions. I love that she provides a platform for underrepresented groups to share their stories. Thank you so much, Natasha. Appreciate you. And if you also want to leave a review to get read on the show, please make sure you do so. You can do so again on Apple Podcasts, or you can go on to Podchaser and you can review the show. Now back to today. My guest is Doreen Anene, originally from Nigeria and currently based in the United Kingdom. In this episode, we learned that her mom was a major influence for her and her siblings to get into the field of. Secondly, she also attributes her father, who owned a pharmacy, to her being an interest specifically in pharmacy. Now, one would think that that's where her STEM path would take her. But Doreen tells us a story on how she went on to study animal science instead. This started the trajectory of her academic career, which has now led her to be a PhD student. She's currently enrolled at Nottingham University, and her research is investigating the relationship and associations between individual hen performance and egg quality. The main focus is on brown-shelled eggs, specifically ISA brown breed, and it involves animal husbandry, molecular biology studies, and proteomics and microbiology. Interesting, right? Well, Doreen tells us more about this research and why it is so important. And further, we discuss about the organization that she founded called the STEM Belle. We learn what was the motivation for her to start this cause, and we discuss the various projects that they have rolled out since the implementation of this program. And we also find out how you can get involved in this organization. Make sure you tune in because you will hear all of this and so much more. Let's go. Hi, Doreen. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Anne, with the E.
I'm super excited to have you on today and for everybody to just get to find out more about you and what you do. Brief introduction about yourself.
Absolutely. I'd love to. Thank you very much, Anne, again, for having me on your platform, on your show. I'm very excited. So my name is Doreen Anene. I am Igbo by tribe, so I'm Nigerian. And I just turned 30 in August. Yeah, I like to tell people my age. Generally, I've lived in, 4 countries. I've lived and worked in 4 countries across 3 continents. And I'm a Schlumberger Fellow, a Schlumberger Faculty for the Future Foundation Fellow, and I'm currently studying for a PhD in animal science at the University of Nottingham in UK.
Lovely. Wait, you mentioned that you've lived in 3 different continents. Where have you lived?
Okay, I have lived in Africa, I've lived in Europe, and then I've lived in Australia.
Wow. Do you have a favorite place apart from Africa where you enjoyed the most?
Australia. I really loved my time in Australia, but coming back to Africa, I really enjoyed my time and I loved living in Ghana. So I lived in 4 countries, of course, Nigeria, because I was born there and I lived there for a while, Ghana, the UK and Australia. But my 2 favorite places are Australia and Ghana.
It's good to know. I love it. I love hearing how people have moved around. I think it also kind of shapes you as a person, right?
Yes, you meet different people, different cultures, different value sets, and you just learn about how diverse yet unified we are. So it's amazing.
No, I can imagine. And okay, away from the sciences, Doreen, I know you're a fitness enthusiast rather, and actually one of your hobbies is kickboxing. I love that. I mean boxing. So please tell us more about that.
Okay, I'll tell you how I got into boxing. Before now, I used to think that, boxing, weightlifting would make you too muscular and make you macho or look like a man or something. But then I was reading something about Michelle Obama, and she was talking about how she used to box. Every morning she tries to do some kickboxing because she needed her arms to be strong enough to hold up her husband in the White House. And
Wow.
Michelle Obama is like my icon. I love her. And when I saw, I was like, what? Michelle Obama boxes? Oh no, I'm boxing. And then I started boxing. So actually, I saw Michelle Obama doing, or I read Michelle Obama, where she said she does it. And I was like, I have to do it as well. So that's how I got into boxing.
Wow, I love that. I love that. And also how she says that she went into boxing to lift up her husband. That's amazing. It actually reminds me of this thing that I watched back in the day with Michelle Obama on the Ellen DeGeneres show.
Mm-hmm.
They were busy doing push-ups and they were doing like a push-up challenge. And Michelle Obama won. And then now it makes sense because she boxes. Like her arms.
Her arms are so toned and firm.
Yeah.
And if she says boxing is the secret, then I'm boxing too.
How long have you been doing it?
I started boxing when I was in Australia. So that started about June 2018. Yeah. From
Up
June
until
2018. Yeah. I mean, gyms have been closed for a while in UK, so I haven't got the chance to do that a lot because I don't have a kickboxing stand. But yeah, that's when I started boxing.
Oh man, that's fantastic. So now let's come back. We're gonna come back now. Apart from Michelle Obama, but I just would now like to know what are some of the influences? Who are some of the people who inspired you to actually get into this wonderful world of science?
First, I'm going to say it's my mom. My mom is not a scientist. She's in commercials, But then, right from when we were kids, she always used to talk to us about, I have 3 sisters and 2 brothers. She always used to talk to us about how there are a lot more job opportunities in science compared to humanities and science careers. And her story as an example. So she studied business education, which is a fantastic course. But then she went to a Federal College of Education, so she was being trained to teach, right? And then she did a bachelor's degree in education, so she was advancing in a teaching career. Now, when she wanted to get jobs, she went to schools because she had a teaching qualification. She went to schools to get jobs or to look out for jobs. And then she always used to tell us how there was so many people in the non-science categories. So commerce, government, the non-science subjects. There's always so many people who wanted jobs in that field. And then very, very few people, and most times men, had teaching qualifications in physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology, right? So she always felt that, if she had a teaching qualification in any of the science subjects, she would have gotten a job easier, faster, compared to what she had. So she would go for these interviews because the competition was stiff. And the interesting thing is that most of the schools were looking out for science teachers, like science teachers were a hot cake. But she didn't have that degree. She didn't have that qualification. So she would go for these interviews. Competition was stiff, and she would come back and tell us and talk to us about how she went for the interview, and so many people we're in the non-science, we're competing for the non-science subjects, which wasn't, the slots weren't so much compared to the slots the schools needed weren't so much compared to science subjects. And she keeps telling us how we need to have science degrees so that if we need to find jobs, we would be highly sought after. We'll be in the cohorts that is highly sought after. And if we need to teach, she basically was trying to explain to us that, at whatever kind of job you're looking for, if you have a science background, you will most likely be highly sought after. So all of that, she used to say that to us when we were a lot younger. I'm saying us, myself and my sisters. She said that to us too when we were a lot younger. So it just stuck. It just stuck to us. And then we just had that perception like, okay, we need to do science because, there are a lot of job opportunities and it's easier, for us. And very well, I guess she did a good job because myself and all my siblings are all doing science. So I'm going to give it to her.
Oh.
She was to get it first.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the second thing I would say that influenced me into doing science was when I was young, because about 10-ish, thereabout, I used to go to my father's shop. My father had a pharmacy shop, and I used to go there to help him out after school. And I just got into everything, and I knew the names of all the drugs. I knew the compositions. I knew what they did. It just, I just got into the whole pharmacy thing and drug thing, or medicine. Let me not use drug, medicine thing. Yeah, and I was comfortable there, and for a while, I was thinking, I was going to study to become a pharmacist and all of that. So I think these two put together just encouraged me. So my mom kept drumming it, sounding it, and it just got into me. And then I felt very comfortable around science stuff, around medical stuff. So I felt, science would be a good thing to do, and that's how I got into science, basically.
Oh, that's a wonderful story. I'm now interested because you said that you initially thought you'd go into the medical science as field, with the time that you spent with your dad, but you didn't. How did that happen?
So I grew up in the north, right? And there's, in Nigeria, you write your the West African Examination Council, examination, the examinations you write at the end of secondary school, you write that. Then we also write the Joint Admissions Matriculation Board exams. We call it JAM. So it's with the JAM exams that you need the JAM exams to get into the university, right? So I wrote the JAM exams and I passed. However, because I grew up in the north, and the university I was trying to go to was in the north. So I'm originally not from the north. I'm from the eastern part of Nigeria. I mentioned earlier I'm Igbo, right? So because of that, they can only take, I think, 2 people per state to study certain courses. I wanted to study medicine and surgery, right? I wasn't the top 2. I wasn't part of the top 2. I think I was 6th or something, or 5th, thereabout. So I didn't get to the top 2. And my state had only 2 slots. Not 2 or 4, 2 or 3. I can't really remember the numbers, but the bottom line is I didn't get to, the top 3 or top 2 that was allotted to my state. And so because of that, I wasn't going to be offered medicine and surgery. However, just by privilege, I had the opportunity to choose between veterinary science and animal science, and then I picked to study animal science. So that's how come I'm in science and now I'm studying animal science.
That's quite interesting, especially when you said about these type of slots that only certain number of people can actually be selected in a specific area. Yeah, that must be so painful,
Well, yeah, it's a sad truth. It's a sad truth, but Yeah, it's a sad truth because the school is in the north, and I don't think it should be that way. It shouldn't be that way, but
Mm.
we're still progressing. Africa is still progressing. Hopefully, a time will come when um, it's strictly on merit and not necessarily about where you're from.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the
is
sad
it
truth.
still happening right now?
I would like to think so. I would like to think so. I haven't checked in a while, but I would like to think so because it's kind of an issue. I'd like to think it's still happening, but I haven't
Oh
checked in
man,
a while.
sure. I can imagine how frustrating that must be. Okay, so you were privileged enough to go into animal science. So you studied in Nigeria for your undergrad?
Yes, I did. I studied at Ahmad Bello University for my undergraduate from 2007 until 2012.
Uh-huh.
And then I specialized in animal science, of course, bachelor's in agriculture, and then I specialized in animal science. And then I went after my compulsory National Youth Service Corps. It's a 1 year voluntary service to the nation. I went to the University of Ghana, where I studied for a master's in agriculture, and I specialized again in animal science. I had my master's between August 2015 and I graduated in November 2017. During that period, I started thinking about, what next? Because I had like a career path that I had designed for myself. And I was thinking, what do I need to get to the peak that I had set for myself? And I did a bit of research, a bit of consulting. I talked to people that had gone ahead of me, and the PhD was dead. And then sometime in 2016, I started looking out for opportunities, looking out for supervisors. I was lucky enough to get the current supervisor I work with now. And then I applied for the Schlumberger Faculty for the Future Foundation in November 2016. And in April 2017, I got the email on 3rd of April 2017. I got the email
Yeah.
that changed my life. So I got the
Oh man.
award email, and when I graduated from University of Ghana in November 2017, by December 2017, I arrived to the UK to start a PhD in animal science at the University of Nottingham.
What a wonderful story. I love how you remember the date specifically.
Oh, I remember the time as well. I can give you the time.
Oh, you remember the time. I love that. It must have really, so pinnacle for you to have that vivid memory. And speaking of your PhD, your research currently is investigating the relationship and associations between individual hen performance and egg quality. The focus is on brown-shelled eggs, especially the ISA brown breed, and it involves animal husbandry, molecular biology studies, and oh gosh, I hope I say this properly, proteomics and microbiology. Yeah, so please, for some of us who know little about animal science, can you give us an overview in terms of what exactly are you doing?
Okay, I'll just tell this as a story. I'm gradually becoming a so science communications enthusiast, and I just believe that things should be broken down into simple pieces, and I'll do that. So, eggs are like power foods, right? Like they are power foods, small but mighty. They are cheap. They are full of all the nutrients. I think next to breast milk, eggs has the highest amount of vitamin D, something for kids. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're readily available and they're generally accepted. So there's really no religion or tribe that forbids egg consumption. It's a very it's a food that can be used by small scale. It can be used to like alleviate poverty. Maybe egg production is a useful tool to alleviate poverty, alleviate malnutrition, and all that stuff. So eggs production and consumption is of global interest, right? Now, in production, right, most management decisions is done on a flock basis. So when I say management decisions, I mean, feed allotted to flocks and all of that, right? They are done on a general basis. But my study is now going beyond just general basis, beyond just, flock basis. We're now looking at individual hens, right? Individual birds. And then we're bringing out the differences in first feed consumption and body weight. Do you understand? So the thing is that individual differences has been overlooked for a while because everyone just does things on a general scope. So my study is going in now to look at individual birds. We're studying individual birds and we're looking out for how is bird A different from bird B? How is bird A different in their feed consumption, in her feed consumption? How is bird A different in her body weight? How is bird A different in her feed efficiency compared to bird B, right? So now we've used a tool, the feed conversion ratio. Feed conversion ratio is simply the amount of feed that a bird needs to consume to produce a certain amount of egg, right? So now in my study has shown that, let's assume we have two birds, bird A and bird A can consume say 115 grams of feed per day to give us an egg. But bird B consume 128 grams of feed to give us an egg. Now the difference between the two is 13 grams. Right? That's 13 grams for one bird in one day. By the time you multiply it for 30,000 birds across the entire laying period, you realize that there's a huge amount of money that is being lost in order to feed big birds to produce the same eggs that smaller sized birds will produce. Are you still with me on this? Yeah, so my study is bringing out these differences and we have gone ahead, apart from, identifying these differences in individual hens, we have now matched it to their eggs. So eggs from bird A, how different are they from eggs from bird B? And we have seen very interesting things. The one broad thing that we have seen is that poorly efficient hens, so hens that eat a lot more feed to produce the same amount of egg, have a lower egg quality. Their eggs have a lower quality compared to highly feed efficient hens that eat a smaller amount of feed to produce the same egg. So this is basically what my study is doing. We have looked at the bird and the egg from all angles. We have done microbiology studies. We have looked at how the egg albumin typically has antimicrobial properties. So we took albumin from these two groups of hens and then we challenged them to bacteria, right? We expose the albumin and then we put them in the center of bacteria and then we try to see which one has a stronger resistance against bacteria. And the results are just mind-blowing and interesting. I think it's going to lead into something bigger. But looking forward to we're looking forward to what the future is going to hold with that. But it's been an enjoyable ride, to be honest, and we're looking forward to what's going to happen. As part of my study, I had to go away to Australia for 18 months where I did the hen study, the animal husbandry work. I did a lot of lab work there. And I'm currently just putting together my results and writing and getting my papers published. So out of this, I have presented the findings of my results at numerous conferences. I've won awards, either as posters or as a talk. And I have one published article from this study and a number on the way as well. So yeah, I'm excited to what the next few months and the next few years will present as a result of this study.
Wow, that's so interesting, Doreen. Now, I just want to ask you, when you were doing these results, were you looking at birds that are being produced by commercial farmers, or where were you getting the results from?
Okay, so the experiment, this is it was like under a strict experimental setup, right? So of course the
Mm-hmm.
pullets were gotten from the commercials, and then we brought the pullets into our facility, our rearing facility, and then we looked at them under strict experimental setups. So the next step beyond this would now be testing these results, with commercial flocks and commercial farms.
Okay, that makes sense. Do you think these results could then later be translated to your small scale farmers?
Absolutely. So you see, is responsible for about 70% of the production costs in layer businesses or layer enterprises. Generally, in animal production, feed constitutes 60 to 70% of the total production cost. So anything so ask yourself this question: why spend more money to feed a bird that will give you, say, 60 grams of egg, when you can feed that same bird less amount of feed and save more money to get the same 60 grams of egg? So of course it's going to be useful to small scale because everyone wants to save money in feed,
Yeah.
still get quality eggs at the end.
Yeah. And the same amount of monetary return.
Yes. Matter of fact, my study has even shown, there's really no point having very big because of course high feed consumption technically means, birds with a higher body weight, and my study is tending towards the fact that, higher body, big, very fat hens is not even it's not safe for the birds themselves, for the hen welfare. It's not safe. So there's really no point, feeding your birds to become very big. There's really no point spending money on extra feed. Give your birds until they become very big to give you the same size of eggs that a slimmer bird would give you. This is all about a case of body weights and how no two birds are the same, especially when their body weights differ.
Wow, no, I can see why you're saying that there's so many exciting things that can come from here. Because, a lot of things are making sense. And now that you're saying that bigger does not necessarily mean better. And I think that's even better in the real world for your commercial farmers, especially your small scale farmers, because they probably don't even have the money enough. It's always about capital for them. Can they actually keep this up? I'm in the crop science aspect of it, but I think it's the same sort of problem. Fully understand why your work will be very pivotal in terms of how changing the thinking behind how people deal with hens that lay eggs. And I can't wait to hear more about it.
Just to add, when you're able to control the amount of feed that is being consumed, the bird is not suffering it's not going hungry, remember, and it's not affecting the size and quality of eggs. But when you control the amount of feed, the bird is healthier. One, the farmer saves money, because, he or she's not spending too much money as such, again, on feed. And three, generally, looking at the environment, it just has a way of reducing the carbon footprint, the less feed that is consumed by an animal to produce eggs reduces the methane gas emission, of course, and then the carbon footprint is just, we're putting that into perspective as well. We just make our contributions to make production a lot more cleaner.
Everything goes back to being more sustainable and
more sustainable.
Yeah, for the future. No, I love that. I love that indeed. And you mentioned that you've won awards and you're doing all of these amazing things. But apart from your PhD, you are the founder of an organization called the STEM Belle, that is closing the gender gap in STEM fields by attracting, retaining, and advancing young girls from low-income communities into STEM subjects and STEM careers. So I want you to tell us more about why this organization was started and, some of the motivating factors behind you starting this venture.
So anything STEM Belle gives me extra joy. My PhD gives me so much joy, but I think STEM Belle gives me extra joy. So the thing is, in 2017, I got into a UN Women Global Champion for Change volunteering program, right? So for 6 months, we were, I think from January 2017 until June, we were learning, attending webinars, and just having conversations and learning from so many amazing women about gender equality from all aspects, education, business, entrepreneurship, violence, everything, equal pay. We were just getting into the world of gender equality. That program is run by Empower Women and it's called the Global Champion for Change volunteering program. Now, it was not paid. And that's one key lesson here for everyone. Don't always look out for where you'll be paid. If you think something can develop you, jumping on it. I got into that program with so much excitement and enthusiasm. And along the line, I think about 3 months, one of the requirements for us to graduate from that volunteering program was that we needed to carry out a project. We had two options. We could do an online project, maybe some kind of advocacy, activism stuff online. You promote a cause, use your voice, use your digital space or your social media platforms and promote a cause. That was one. The other thing was to do an on-site project. So you have to, whatever you're doing, on-site, you take pictures, you send to the organizing team and all that. And then I thought about what to do. And I was like, I remember when I was in school, I have two sisters who are now engineers. And at the time, I used to speak with them. At the time, one was studying physics, another was studying engineering. And we used to have conversations about how there's just 4 girls out of 100 students in engineering school and all of that. And I was like, okay, since I'm in Ghana, remember I was in Ghana in 2007. Like, I'll just go to one of the schools around where I worked at the time to just find out what their perception is about women in science, And then I went to a school close to where I was working then and I spoke to the principal. I was well received. And they were like, I told them I wanted to speak with the students and just find out what their perception is about, women doing science and stuff. And I got into the classroom and then I played this game. Then this was my way of doing a survey. I didn't want to ask them the questions. I wanted to play it as a game. And then I told them, okay, ladies, I had about 60 girls in the class and I told them, okay, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to call out some professions, right? And you tell me who should do them, boys or girls. Made it very playful. And I was like, okay, a pilot. Everybody thought a guy should be a pilot. A marine engineer, pilot. A teacher, everybody shouted, females. Sorry, a marine engineer, they thought it was a guy, a male, that should be a marine engineer. I said a teacher, and then they thought it was women that should be teachers. We were using boys and girls that day, so boys scream boys or those scream girls. And then I went on and on, an architect, a structural engineer, a cook, a fashion designer, a hairdresser, a farmer. I kept going on and on and on and on. Anyways, the summary of that study, so to speak, was that they thought that girls or women should be nurses, bankers, fashion designers, cooks, of course, stay-home moms. And then there was a tie between whether women or men should be doctors. So they thought women could be doctors as well, but women should strictly be nurses, should strictly be bankers, and it was just magical for me in a negative way because that was 2017. It was supposed to be the 17th year in the 21st century, not so. And this kind of stereotypes are still being held so tightly by children, by girls. And I told myself, we have a long way to go. Mind you, this school was in the heart of the city. It wasn't in a rural area. And I thought to myself, if people in the heart of the city, if girls in the heart of the city had this kind of perception, what happens? What's happening in rural communities where the only people children can see are maybe farmers and hunters. They can't see people in industry, they can't see executives. What happens? Oh my God. I was like, there is a lot of work to be done. And then that's how come I did a project in that school. I went back, developed a project, and I was thinking of a name, and I don't know, I think God revealed the name to me, the STEM Belle. Basically, the STEM Belle means, Belle means a beautiful girl. It's a French word that means a beautiful girl. And STEM, of course, science, technology, engineering, and math. So with that experience I had with the girls, I came up with the name the STEM Belle because I wanted them to understand that you can be in science, engineering, technology, or mathematics and beautiful, And I took back that name. I put together a project. I got a number of sponsors, and then I went back to the school with, a medical doctor, with someone in tech, and we just talked to them about career opportunities in science, amazing things they could do with science degrees, and how they could progress from where they are to like top decision-making tables in science fields. It was an exciting 4-hour session. And at the end, we were able to debunk some stereotypes that, women in science find it difficult to get married, and women in science find it difficult to bear children, because these were some of the things that they have heard. So we were able to debunk and demystify some of those stereotypes. But then that's just one school out of so many other schools. That's just 70 girls out of millions of girls across the world. And I told myself, I'm going to take this up and I'm going to just start trying to change the world from where I am, from where I stand. I'll just try to change the world, and hopefully we can all meet up somewhere, somehow. And that's how the STEM Belle started. So right after that event held in March 2017, right after that event, I got the STEM Belle registered as a non-profit organization, and then we started activities in Nigeria, in Ghana, and then we also have a couple of activities that have been done in Pakistan as well.
Wow, what a story! What a beautiful story! And you're absolutely right that it's quite shocking that for you at that time, it was 2017, and these perceptions and these stereotypes were still there. So I wanted to ask you, in the 3 years that you've been doing this, have you seen a sort of change in terms of the thinking with the work that you've been doing?
Of course, we have seen tremendous change, which is just so encouraging, and that's basically what has kept us until 3 years. So right from the first event we had in Ghana, from the questions, the interactions, you could see the honesty, you could see that we were really clearing up doubts. I still have conversations with the principal that was in that school. Of course, we saw change, but when we started really tracking change was after that event in the projects we do in Nigeria. So in Nigeria, we have currently we're working with 5 schools, but overall we've worked with 6 schools in Nigeria, and we have seen changes in their confidence, their performance in schools, in their determination to keep going until they get to the top. And this change has been gotten both from their these change reports have been gotten from their parents, from the girls, that's the beneficiaries themselves, from their teachers, from the school records. It's just magical. Last year we had a boot camp that brought together 60 girls from low-income communities. We brought them 60 girls and about 13 teachers, all from low-income communities that were students at government schools. Now, this was like the first of its kind in Nigeria, having girls from government schools come together for an on-site boot camp. And from the first day, right, the first day of the boot camp, you could see a marked difference in the girls' confidence, their communication skills, their team building, their understanding of what science is, their interaction. You could see a difference from the first day and the last day. We also launched out a STEM kit. Now, the kits, studying science is expensive. That's the truth of the matter. And sometimes it's a challenge because you hear most parents say things like, it's better for you to go and study or join a class that is a bit cheaper. You don't need to buy lab coats and all kinds of graph books and practical notebooks and technical drawing boards and, geometric sets and all of that. So we created, and sometimes it can be a discouraging factor. So most girls, they know that their parents are not financially able. And in order to not stretch their parents financially, they just tend to go to non-science classes. So we developed this STEM kit, and the STEM kit is supposed to equip and support the girl from senior secondary school up till she graduates from secondary school. Right, so we launched out the STEM kit last year. We had 17 beneficiaries or recipients of the STEM kit last year, and currently 15 of them are still in science class. So that's like a big plus for us. The interesting thing about our project is that we work, I didn't mention this earlier, but we work with girls when they have just entered secondary school. So girls that are around 9 years, we start working with them when they're about 9 years or 10 years, right? And this is because I don't know how it is like in South Africa, but in Nigeria, when you get to SS1 or GSS3, you have to make a choice whether you're going into science or non-science classes. Now, I like to consider that choice as a very important one, and it's more like a journey of no return. Most times, people who do not go the science route never ever make it to science again. So it's more like it's not like they don't. They may, but most times they don't. It's more like a journey of no return. So we started, we because of that, we have that in mind. And so we work with students when they're in GSS 1, so junior high school 1. And then we keep working with them, exposing their mindsets, introducing them to different sciences, different careers in STEM, getting hands-on projects, getting them to do hands-on science projects and all of that. So that by the time they get to GSS 3, when they want to choose a class to go to in senior secondary school without confusion, without pressure, with clarity of what lies ahead and the opportunities that lies ahead of them, and even the challenges that lies ahead of them, they choose science. Because you also need to have an idea of the challenges of doing science. And if you know about it, when you get into science, you kind of have the grit and the wit to withstand those challenges when they come. So we get these girls exposed so that by the time they're in GSS3, with ease, they choose science and then they keep going science.
That's very, very smart. Here in South Africa, it's also the same thing. It's in 10th grade, you get to choose. And most of us choose without knowing what we're really getting into. So I think it's really important that you start at that young age telling them sort of the ideas, what exactly is in store if you choose science, because that's so true. Like once you make that decision of taking the science route or the commerce route, for example, it's very hard for you to really go back and choose science, because when you go to university, they want those science subjects that you take in high school or secondary school. So I think, some of us, I can only tell you that I chose science because my parents were like, science, not because it was an active choice in the back of my mind. I don't think that was it. But I think
most people choose science because all their friends are going to science and they don't want to be alone, Or some people don't go to science because all their friends are not in science and they don't want to be alone in science class. So they go with their friends, and it's just, there's a lot more that needs to be done with providing clarity, just letting people know the opportunities that lie ahead,
Especially at the beginning. You mentioned that you give them a starter kit or something. I'm curious, what is in that kit?
Okay, so just basically things that you need to do science in senior secondary school. Technical drawing boards, lab coats, calculators, textbooks. So all of this, we got loads of interesting partnerships. Like last year, we got partnerships from Casio Education, who donated calculators, original Casio calculators to us. We got partnerships from University of Nottingham. They give us notepads. They give us the periodic table. If you remember, last year was the year of periodic table in chemistry. So they gave us this beautiful periodic table, which we included in the kits.
Wow.
We had lab codes. We had partnerships from Thermo Fisher. They gave us safety goggles. So some companies give us stuff which we put in the kits. Some other things we had to purchase ourselves, but the kit was given out free of charge to these girls just to support them in their science as they begin their science journey.
Wow, that's really, really great. And like you said, the textbooks, the lab coats, it all costs money. And I think you're right that from girls who come from these low income communities, I mean, who's going to spend all of that money when we need to buy food, for example? So it's really great that you are actively working with these sponsors, and I'm so fascinated, and I really love the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
And if somebody's listening right now, Doreen, how can they be a part of it in terms of donations, or if they want to help you and somebody's in Nigeria or Ghana, how can they get a hold of you?
Oh, that's we have a website, right? You can always reach us on our website, or you can just send an email to Doreen the STEM Belle at gmail.com. I'll take it again, Doreen, DOREEN, the STEM Belle at gmail.com. Now, we are really open to partnership, sponsorship, because we are a non-profit organization. So we don't have a social enterprise yet. We're hoping to start one soon. But until then, we depend on companies, kind individuals to donate their time, their resources, their products, their money to just help support these girls. So, of course, if anyone would like to collaborate with us, partner with us, we're very happy to, and we're very open to collaborate and partner with you.
Oh, fantastic. And I hope the people who are listening will definitely contact you, because you definitely need all the support that you can get. In wrapping things up, I wanted to ask you now, you work with these young girls, right? So what advice do you give them about getting into STEM, or maybe if somebody's interested in your specific career path, like what are some final parting words that you would say to a girl or a boy? Let's not forget the boys who are interested in your field.
So I always tell my girls this, and I have this quote. It says that women and girls, of course, because my work is focused on women and girls can be everything, can be elegant in stilettos, they can be confident in steel toes. That means that you can be everything you want to be at the same time. So go for it. Don't let one thing hold you back. Go for it. I mean, it's going to be tough, but life is, right? And life is. You just have to push through until you get to where you want to be. So my advice to everyone, go for it. Don't hold back. Don't play small. For it. And even if the challenges, or when the challenges come, consider your journey as, a Google map. When you get lost, you don't end the trip and just remain where you are. You most likely would reroute. So reroute. Don't end the trip. There would always be a way out. It might take a bit more time. It may not. But don't end the trip where you are. Don't just give up where you are because you faced the challenge. That's why it's life. So keep going. You can be everything, either in stilettos, not either, both in stilettos and in steel toes. So keep going.
Ah, lovely. I love that, especially that reroute. Just press through. I think that's a beautiful analogy. And Doreen, it's been lovely chatting with you, learning from you, and also just listening about the work that you're doing to kind of make an impact in a small way or actually in a big way, because to somebody that is really big, the work that you're doing for them in their lives, and continue. And I wish you all of the best.
Thank you very much. With the E, thank you.
It's a pleasure. And to everybody else who's listening, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the Root of the Science podcast with your girl, Anne with an E. Until next time, goodbye.